The deadly fire that tore through a cluster of high-rise apartment blocks in Hong Kong's Tai Po district has become one of the most shocking urban disasters the city has faced in years. What started as a localized blaze inside one building on the afternoon of November 26 quickly escalated into a firestorm that swept across multiple towers, trapping thousands of residents and overwhelming emergency responders. By the following day, officials reported that at least 55 people had died, with more than 120 others injured, including 8 firefighters. The death toll was expected to rise as search teams continued combing through charred hallways and smoke-filled stairwells. More than 200 residents had still not been accounted for in the early aftermath, leaving families desperate for news while rescue operations stretched late into the night. Investigators have not yet identified the ignition source, but early findings suggest that the intensity and speed of the fire were fueled by a dangerous combination of renovation materials, high winds, and Hong Kong's widespread use of bamboo scaffolding. The entire residential complex, home to more than 4,000 people, had been undergoing refurbishment and was wrapped in green protective netting and bamboo frames that climbed the full height of the buildings. Fire specialists believe this scaffolding acted like an external fuel ladder, allowing flames to race vertically from floor to floor with minimal resistance. In many apartments, firefighters also found polystyrene blocks placed inside window frames along with plastic sheets, nylon nets, and other materials that did not appear to meet standard fire safety requirements. According to Fire Services Director Andy Young, these polystyrene panels were extremely flammable and burned so aggressively that they became a central focus of the investigation. Their very presence inside residential units was unusual, he added, which is why the case had been handed to law enforcement. Fire safety engineers have emphasized that the biggest question may not simply be what started the fire, but why it spread so explosively through multiple towers. In typical high-rise construction, internal fire-blocking systems and sealed conduits are designed to contain flames long enough to allow evacuation. But when scaffolding made of combustible materials surrounds a building's exterior, those standard protections become almost irrelevant. Under strong winds, the fire found easy paths upward and outward, and once the bamboo structure ignited, it became nearly impossible for firefighters to stop the flames from leapfrogging across building sections. Residents have raised additional concerns about how the emergency response unfolded. Some reported noticing thick smoke long before evacuation orders were issued, prompting public debate over whether the complex should have been cleared more quickly. Others questioned why renovation materials, especially ones so prone to burning, were allowed inside occupied apartments. Police responded swiftly, arresting 3 men connected to the engineering company overseeing the renovation project. 2 of them were company directors, while the third served as a technical consultant. All 3 were detained on suspicion of manslaughter as investigators worked to determine whether corners had been cut during maintenance operations or whether any safety regulations had been violated. As emergency crews battled the flames, hundreds of families living in the 7 affected towers fled down smoke-choked stairwells or waited for rescue teams on balconies and rooftops. By the morning of November 27th, firefighters had managed to control the fire in several of the buildings, though burning hotspots and limited visibility made the search slow and hazardous. Nearly 900 displaced residents were moved into temporary shelters, and the government suspended classes at 13 schools due to air quality concerns and ongoing rescue activity. With many of the towers rising more than 30 floors and containing nearly 2,000 housing units in total, the search for survivors remained an enormous logistical challenge, worsened by unstable scaffolding and falling debris. The disaster has ignited widespread discussion in Hong Kong about aging infrastructure, renovation oversight, and the future of bamboo scaffolding, a practice deeply rooted in local construction culture, but increasingly criticized for its fire risks. Earlier this year, after a smaller blaze also involved external scaffolding, officials had begun considering stricter rules and a gradual phase-out. The Taipo fire is expected to accelerate those reforms, with safety advocates calling for updated building codes, mandatory inspections of renovation materials, and stronger fire-blocking systems in heavily populated high-rises. For American observers, the tragedy underscores a broader global issue. Cities with aging high-rise housing, whether in Hong Kong, New York, Chicago, or Los Angeles, face similar vulnerabilities when renovation shortcuts intersect with outdated safety regulations. The Taipo fire serves as a stark reminder that in dense urban environments, public safety depends not only on firefighters or first responders, but also on construction standards, regulatory enforcement, and the materials allowed inside everyday homes. As the investigation continues, the grief of the victims' families is matched only by urgent calls for accountability and reform so that a catastrophe of this scale never happens again.